All right. So again, this is the thesis project dissertation information session. And my name is Hallie Smith, and I'm going to be helping y'all out today. So in this true spirit of what we're doing, we have a few things that I'd like for us to cover, but I also know that sometimes there's a lot of different questions and nuances. So really it's going to be a quick presentation, and then there's going to be time, a lot of time, hopefully at the end, where we get to talk a little further about concerns or questions that you may have. So today we're going to cover a little bit of the new submission process, some of the formatting differences between the library process and the process that we have at the Graduate Studies and Research Department, and then some new resources to help you as you're going through this process of either writing your thesis or converting your thesis or project or dissertation over to the templates. And then we'll have time for questions. And I recognize the timeline process here is a little blurry, so we will actually escape this presentation in a couple of minutes, and I'll go over to the actual PDF version of this for us to look at. But essentially, there's some key changes. Like I said earlier, we have Canvas as a tool for submitting the thesis now instead. So in the past, you may have used to email it over. Now you actually get a submission box, just like assignments that your professors give you, and you can turn in your thesis, your project, your dissertation there. And the nice thing about that is once you turn it in, we at the office will go ahead and review it, make sure that the formats are correct and in line with the university guidelines. And then when we decide it's ready or when we approve it, you actually will get it back on that same platform. So you would submit 3 separate documents, and then together you'll get one document at the end with a stamp that says it's been approved. Now there's some deadlines to this for fall 2023, which is this fall. You have a deadline of December 8th to submit. And that's, after you've defended, after all of that, you would go ahead and submit. And then spring of 2024, the deadline is May 10th. And then another difference now is we have a approval form that needs to be signed. And that's always been the case. But now instead, you have to use Adobe Reader to go ahead and get it signed. And then only your chair has to sign the approval form. No one else in your committee needs to. And then we have new templates. So we have templates A, B, and the approval form. And essentially this makes it a little easier. You don't have to worry about templates F or G or any of the old ones. You just have the 2 plus your approval form, and it's a copy paste type of thing. So you write your template, or you write your thesis, your project, your dissertation on a separate document, make sure it's all ready, and then when you're getting ready to defend, you actually convert it over. And for that, we have this timeline process here that we can kind of talk about. Can everybody still see my screen? Yes, awesome. Thank you, Erica. You're the one I can see right now because you're in my corner. So the first step in terms of submitting is actually taking your finished thesis, project, dissertation, and you're copying it over to templates A and B. Now, template B is going to be the main template that you use for the body of your work. That's going to be where you have your introduction, your lit review, your method, your results, your references. All of that is going to be in there. And template A is simply the kind of the beginning steps where you have the title of your work and the table of contents of your work, the acknowledgements. That's where you'll have that information. As far as why we have 2 templates, I think it's just because it's a little easier to manage. And then at the end, when your information and when your project is approved, you get it back as one single document. After you've finished all of that, you move on to step 2, where you have it in the correct documents. You go ahead and you give those to your committee members, and you defend your thesis. Once your committee and your chair thinks it's ready, you've made the changes that they've requested, and they've signed it, you have to get it approved essentially. So you move on, they approve your overall work, you send the approval form over. Your chair has to also have Adobe Reader because they sign it with an electronic signature. And all it does is it says their name, and then it says in a little blurb, electronically signed at this date at this time. The other thing with that is Adobe Reader is free software, so it's nothing you have to buy. And then step 4, so once you've gotten it signed, you actually use the thesis submission portal on Canvas, and you turn in template A, template B, and the approval form. From there, you're kind of done for a little bit of time. So it's like when you're sending it to your chair and you're like, great, now they get to make the changes and you're in the waiting stage. That's where you're at right now. Because from here, our office, the Graduate Studies and Research Department, will look at what's going on, what you submitted. We make sure to check it. It looks like someone else entered, so I'm going to admit them real quick. So we go ahead, we check that, we make sure that formatting meets our guidelines that we have. And if it does, great. What you do is you get your document back at the same spot that you submitted. So kind of like when you get comments from professors on Canvas and you see it on the sidebar, that's where you'd get your document back. And it has a GSR approval stamp saying, yes, we've reviewed it. Yes, it meets our guidelines. And yes, you can move on to the final step. And that final step is you're receiving your combined document. So you download that and you actually take that document and you submit it to ProQuest. This is a lot of information, but there's also ways to go ahead and get help throughout this process as well. This is just a way for us to kind of convey it, and then you don't have to worry, because if you have questions, you're more than welcome to ask. So we move on here. We're going to keep presenting. So one of the things with this process is we have the new guidelines and they have some formatting differences. So some new changes that you'll see in our templates is you now have 1-inch margins. You don't have to worry about the book style margins that you used to have, because typically these projects that you're working on are getting submitted electronically now. They are not something that you are having to do as a binded book, which is where the 1 3/4-inch margins came into play. The other difference is the order of contents in the table of contents has changed. And all that means is you look at the table of contents and you essentially have it formatted in that order. This isn't something you're going to have to worry about too much, because you have the document that's like a copy paste. It's not something that you need to necessarily do on your own document for your writing. And then also Times New Roman is now something that's required. So that's something that in the past it was recommended, not necessary. Now it's something that happens. And again, it's within the templates that we have. Now, if any of you are still looking to do the old process with the library, that is still available until summer of 2024. And they would be able to help you with these, with like accessing the templates, getting access to the help videos, and there's also a couple that are still well versed in the process and could answer questions if you're looking to do that. And now we have some resources, and this does have them all linked. So at the end of our workshop today, I'm going to go ahead and send an email out with these slides, and you'd be able to have access to these resources as well. But essentially we have new video guides, and these video guides give you a walkthrough on what to do within the templates, and even things like how to submit to ProQuest, because ProQuest, it seems like a really big task and not all of us are aware of what it is and how to work it. So we have like how-to videos where it goes step by step into the process of submitting. We also have thesis, dissertation, project consultation meetings that can be scheduled on You Can Book Me. They're essentially 15-minute meetings where you can get some one-on-one help and get questions answered. You can sometimes have someone look it over, and it's 15 minutes. It may lengthen depending on the course of how things go over the semester. This is kind of a new thing that we've started. So once we get an idea of how much time is necessary, the length of time is going to change. We again have new templates that are available on our website for downloading. And that's awesome. It's essentially the copy paste. You have this format, it's given to you. All you have to do is move what you've written into that document. We are also going to be holding workshops like we are today to give you a chance to get questions answered. And they may look a little bit like this. They may look a little different later down the line as well. And again, the library is still available in terms of helping you find research, helping you find out the way that your department does formatting. For example, like reference pages look different depending on what kind of format you follow, whether that's MLA, APA, Chicago style. So there's research librarians that can help with that formatting. And then there's also tutoring services if you're concerned about the content of what you have in your thesis, your project, your dissertation. And that's kind of everything we have at the moment to share for generalization